I'm Lawrence Francis, host of Interpreting Wine, welcoming you to the Cava special series. Across 2 episodes recorded in March and May 2023, we'll be exploring the modern Cava scene in the company of 2 producers. The most up-to-date exploration of Cava available anywhere in podcast format. Subscribe to be alerted when new series episodes go live. We close out the series today in the company of Eva Plazas Torné of Vilarnau. We kick things off with Eva's origin story. Before talking changes in the Cava region over time, we discuss climate change, grape varieties in the Cava region, the influence of rootstock, organic viticulture. Eva takes us on a virtual tour of the region. We talk drought mitigation and winemaking, and close on market perceptions of Cava. Enjoy!
I born in Sant Sadurní d'Anoia, and Sant Sadurní d'Anoia is the capital of Cava. Mm-hmm. And when I was a child, I walk and I go to the vineyards because my mother's family, they had a vineyards. And in the harvest time, I went to make the harvest. And I like it very much, my village, and where I was born and I live. And when I decide what I want to study, in this moment I know that I want something about the earth or the viticultures. Mm-hmm. For the reason I studied engineer technique agricole, and finally I decided to do enologist.
Yeah, you started in the very heart, I guess, of the Cava industries, and it's also really interesting for me to hear, where did you kind of gain your experience? I mean, a lot of times people, they kind of will travel, get experience. Yeah, talk to me about the professional side of things from the start to where you are now, really.
Yeah, because in 1996. I started to work in Vilarnau, but in an old winery in the center of the town. That is 26 years ago. Oh my God. And I started to make a practice in laboratory, like a practice. Mm-hmm. And in 2004 is the very important challenge because you know that Vilarnau, we make a new winery around the vineyards in our estate. And here is when is the most important change for all people that work in Vilarnau. And at this moment, I start to make more winemaker jobs. Mm-hmm. And in this new winery, it's a very nice place because we are in the middle of the vineyards, in the highest place of Sant Sadurní d'Anoia, my village. And it's the name of this area is Espiells, and it's a very important place because we have a very old Romanic church. Mm-hmm. It's 11th century, and in this area is Anoia River. You know that the name of my town is Sant Sadurní d'Anoia, and Anoia is a river that we have in this area of Vilarnau. And for me, it's very important to work in Vilarnau, and I am very happy with the team and make Cava. But for me, it's important that Vilarnau belongs to the González Vías family. And you know that González Vías family is a very important family wines. The most famous wine is Tío Pepe. Tío Pepe is the wine that born in the south of Andalusian, in Jerez. And González Vías, these are big family wines, for me is important, and for all the winemakers that belongs to this big family, because with us we can charge all the no's or all the investigation that we have all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is it, as you say, you come from an experimental background, I guess, and it's part science and part art, really. I think and I'm sure it's something that we will refer back to as well, when we talk about, I guess, changing styles, changing climates as well, actually continuing to, I guess, remain curious and continuing to, keep an open mind about the best way to kind of do things. And I think it's so fascinating for me, Eva, that you are, very much from the region and, sort of born and raised there. And I'm sure that, there are a few people who are kind of better qualified, really, to talk to modern Cava and specifically, to the region there. And I know that something that you mentioned to me before we turned on the microphone is really the influence of the association, of the Consejo Regulador de Cava, of Penedès. What is the modern state of Cava, and how have things changed over that time?
Yeah, I have a lot of influence because I am very active in all the Consejo Regulador in Cava or in Penedès. I am in the tasting group. That for have a qualification of the DO, you need to a tasting group, and I am in these groups. And this is important because we can share with the others winemaker, and finally you can know what the people make in this moment in the and others wineries. But finally, I think that it's important for González Vías that every winery, for example, Veroni and Rioja, or Viñas del Vero and Somontano, or Cava, every winery have your own or your identity, because it's important that here in Vilarnau we make Cava, and finally the people that know about Cava are the people that work here. And this is very important because Vilarnau have your own identity. But in this identity, I think that Vilarnau, we make Cavas very clean, very fresh, and very easy to drink. It's a Cavas with good intensity, aromatic intensity. And I think that this is for our team, is not for influence. And we think that the new market wants these styles of Cava. We make Gran Reserva too, for example, a Cavas with a long aging time, with a lot of tertiary aromas, but these Cavas never lose the primary aromas that remind the grape that come from. And that is important for us. Finally, our Vilarnau style, we made all the team that work here.
As you, I think, have really alluded to there, it's always, I think, with wine, it's always a kind of a dance between what the market wants, really, what the land will deliver, the influence of the winemaker, and then, of course, the change of climate as well. And is it therefore fair to say, I mean, and again, it is too big a question almost for today, but that even at the sort of, Cava's identity is that it should be able to offer all of those things, to offer those very complex and aged Cavas, with those tertiary aromas, but then also to be able to offer something maybe more crisp or more kind of fruit driven, that Cava can have, I guess, many faces.
Yes. And now, for example, it's very complicated this year because it's completely drought, don't rain. And we have a lot of rainfalls this year. Normally, the medium here in our area is 450 liters meters squares per year. And this year we have only 170. That is less. And we are in spring. For the reason, we can see that the very nice adapted varieties are, for example, Xarel·lo or Garnacha. Here, you know that we have a Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, we have some varieties, but the best adapted in this climate now is, for example, Xarel·lo. Xarel·lo is one of our indigenous varieties. And now, for example, we need to change a little bit the viticulturist, because 10 years ago, for example, we planted the vineyard and we put in 1 hectare 4,000 beans per hectare. And now we come back to the viticulturists that our grandfathers, grandmothers made, because now, for example, we planted 3,200 beans per hectare. Because if you planted a lot of vines, you have a lot of competition. And now the people in this area, it's come back to the viticulturists that all people in this area make, no? Come back all viticulturists. And that is important in this moment, because the climate change and it's completely drought.
Absolutely. And again, to kind of draw these elements together, do you, collectively, do you have a theory as to why Xarel·lo as a varietal and Garnacha, as you mentioned, is actually so well adapted versus something like Pinot Noir or Chardonnay?
For example, you know that for make Cava we can use 5 white varieties and 4 red varieties only, okay? The white varieties are the Macabeu. Macabeu is like a Viura, okay? Xarel·lo, indigenous, and Parellada. These 3 typical varieties, Macabeu, Xarel·lo, and Parellada. But we can use too Chardonnay. And Chardonnay, you know that it's a variety that comes from the north of Europe. And with less to 500, 400, it's complicated to growing. And the 5 white varieties, Subirat Parent. Subirat Parent is Malvasia. It's a very old variety that now we want to recover, because we think that is one of the variety that can good adapted. We need to check, but now we recovering 1 vineyard of Malvasia of Subirat Parent. And for the red varieties, we can use Pinot Noir. You know, Pinot Noir is the same like a Chardonnay, come from the north of Europe, and in this area it's complicated if you with the less water. Garnacha, good adapted. Monastrell, but Monastrell it's a neutral variety, okay? And finally Trapat. Trapat is a variety that comes from the south of Barcelona, in Tarragona, in Conca de Barberà. And this variety with the less rainfall is good adapted too. For the reason I think that the rosé cavas go to the Garnacha and Trapat. And the white cavas, or the white cavas like a Macabeu this year it's complicated a little bit, but Xarel·lo, Parellada, and perhaps Subirat Parent we can see.
Very interesting, and it's actually reminding me of a recent conversation that I had with a winemaker in California.
Yeah,
and
in California they have a lot of problems with the drought, no?
Yeah, 100%. And something that he shared was actually all around rootstocks, because one of the key components which you've already brought in there, Eva, is of course variety. People also, of course, talk to clones, but he was saying that they found that actually the rootstock has been transformational, and I'm just curious, what has been your discovery in that direction as well, maybe to draw a line between what you're doing and what he brought up.
The rootstock is very important. For example, in this area for Xarel·lo, we use the SO4, and it's important, depend of the type of soil that you have. If you have a clay, sandy, or with a chalk or not, the soil is very important for the rootstock. But it's important to the age of the vines. For example, when the vine is young, now with the less rainfalls, this water is only in the surface of the earth, and the vine can use all the water. But if it's an old vine, the roots are very profound, and the water, if you don't have a lot of water, the water don't arrive to the roots, and that is a problem now. This year we can see a lot of difference between the old vineyard or the young vineyard.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that I think a lot of people who have a close association with the soil and get out there and walk the rows, I think they intuitively know that. But again, it keeps coming up. When it gets put to the test, are years like this year for you, right? 2023, you've got so much less rainfall, so much more stress, so reduced support for the vine. So you're really getting to see through the quality of the vine and the health of the vine above soil, which you can see. Then you're also getting a sort of a snapshot, really, I guess, of what's happening underneath, how well adapted and really how strong the root system is and how well developed that is. This is fascinating because I think also, we've very much gone down a technical route here, which I'm very happy to, because I also have had some questions from my audience that are on a sort of a slightly more technical level as well. But I think that, to learn more as well about the viticulture, because you mentioned that you're adapting so that you've got already vines and varieties that are suited and are thriving or at least adapting to the current conditions. What about your inputs though on a sort of a month by month or a year by year basis? Are you having to change a lot the way that the viticulture team actually treat the grapes and treat the different plots there to give them the best support?
This is very important, the support that we give to all our viticultures. You think that here in Vilarnau we have 45 viticulturists, suppliers that we buy the grapes. That it's important, and we work all the year with them. And now, for example, we have all these viticultures are organic. That it's very important that all the grape that arrive in our cellar is organic. And now we have in some vineyards we start to work with the regenerative viticulturist. This is a type of viticulturist that wants to recover this soil life. The life of the soils that we have. But this viticulturist is very interesting because you can control to the quantity of grape that we have for every vine. And we work with the cover, the plant cover. But that is very interesting. But the problem is 1 year like this, like 23 year, that we don't have rain. And it's important to control this a plant cover because you know that if you have a plant cover, it's very interesting because you can maintain the humidity of the soil. You can maintain this first layer, the humidity, but you have some competence with the vine, with the plant. This competence is important. It's very important to, if you don't have rain, you don't have water, in this moment it's necessary to remove the earth, and take out these plants, because you need to broken this earth, and it's necessary that when rain, the water go to the soil and arrive to the roots of the vine. For the reason, plant cover, yes, but depend if it's rain or not rain, if it's this vineyard is young or old, because the vineyard is young is better because you need only surface water. But if this vineyard is old and you have a cover plant and this water cannot arrive to the roots, you have a problems. And it's like every vineyard is different, and every vineyard, the variety, the rootstocks, the soil, and the age of the vineyards. And it's like you cannot say, okay, now all plant cover. Depend. It's important to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what would, and it's naturally led from that discussion, would be to actually then kind of zoom out again and talk to us about what are the types of areas that the grapes are being sourced from? Because it sounds as though you have a quite a large production, and as you say, you're purchasing grapes from different growers. What's the area across which they are spread?
You know that the Penedès area, we have 3 different parts, okay? The low Penedès is 0 to 100 meters high, start in the sea level. And in this area, there are a lot of xarel·lo, okay? Here in Vilarnau, we are in the Penedès medium. Penedès medium is a 200 high, 400 meters high, okay? And in this area, we have a Macabeu, xarel·lo too, and some Chardonnay, okay? And Garnacha, a lot of Garnacha. And the 3 Penedès area is the highest Penedès. This area is 400, 600, 700 meters high. And in this area, the most important variety is Parellada. Parellada and Chardonnay and some Pinot Noir, okay, in the highest area of Penedès. It's very important, for example, for us, this Parellada that comes from this highest area of Penedès, because this variety is for the long cycle, okay? And we need this Parellada for the high acidity. In this Parellada, we have a nice acidity, and we make the blending with the Macabeu that comes from the Penedès medium or the xarel·lo, okay? One important thing from the Cava that normally we work with the blending, okay? We use a blending, and we can play with these different grapes and these different wines. And for example, xarel·lo is a variety that have a lot of body, a structure. It's a variety, I say that is a heavy variety with high volume alcohol, nice acidity. And we have, for example, a Macabeu. That Macabeu is normally the backbone of our blendings. Macabeu normally is a 40-50% of the blendings. Macabeu is a variety with a 9, 10.5 alcohol degree and a good balance with acidity, pH too. And we have the Parellada. Parellada is a more delicate variety. Don't have a lot of powerful aromas, but it's a good balance. It's like a less volume alcohol, but a high acidity. Normally, I say that the Parellada is like a ballerina, okay, because it's elegant and have a nice balance. Xarel·lo is like a strong man, okay, and Macabeu is like a woman, like me, for example. It's balance and the backbone of the blending.
And that's the as you say, the challenge or the fun and the excitement, I guess, every year is to bring those elements into harmony, to let them all agree.
Yeah, and make this blending is the best moment. No, if you make a good mix, you have a good cava finally.
Yeah. Okay. And again, I think it's been so interesting to hear about the changing climate and the different kind of stresses of that. And again, I think this is an interesting time to kind of pick your brain really and to kind of see, as we know already that the drought is so severe really in 2023. Does this already start to influence you in terms of, I guess, a couple of things? One is the viticulture, how the plants are being treated, but even kind of starting to think ahead to, enology and even potentially to the blends. Is that already in your mind?
Yes, I make some important experiments, if you want, or investment. No, now I think, for example, that I make a test with fermenting the mast in a concrete eggs, for example. I fermented Macabeu, xarel·lo, and Parellada in different concrete eggs. And I like it very much, the balance that we obtain with the wine. We have a nice balance in aromas, and we have a nice balance for the palate, okay, because sometimes we need some more volume, more structure, and in this fermentation in the eggs, that the concrete eggs have two important conditions. One is the eggs is not completely permeable. You can have a little interaction with the oxygen that have a pores, okay, and you know that Stein still less don't have a pore. It's completely asthmatic, okay, and we have this little interaction with the oxygen that make more complexity of the aromas. And we have another important thing, that is when finish the fermentation, this egg form make that all the leaves maintain in movement, and you obtain a more volume, more structure in the palate of these wines. And another important thing is that adapted the winery for the time harvest. That this climate change make that the harvest is earlier. Last year, for example, we start the harvest in the 8th of August. 8th of August here in our area, the temperature outside is 35 degrees. That is very complicated. First, the people that make the harvest, it's picking in the vineyards, work to the 30 degrees. That it's very difficult, okay? And during 8 hours. For this reason, we need to change. That, for example, start to the 7 in the morning and finish at 2 or 3. In September, when the weather was normal, we can make a pause during the day, but now it's earlier. That is a problem, because, and another is that when the grape arrives to the cellar, it's hot, because it's on site it's 30 degrees, and we need cool this grape. We need a lot of systems to cool the grape, and that's finally it's the problem that. The most important problem that we had the last harvest or now, that is we need to make the harvest earlier, and it's very hot outside, and it's a lot of problems with employers, with the people that work in the vineyards and everything.
And I think on and on and on, adaptations will kind of have to be made as the conditions change, and but I think that the interesting thing for me as well, though, to bring into that conversation is that obviously you're making all of those adaptations in order to, I guess, two things really. One is to keep the quality as high as possible, but then also surely to finish up with a wine that actually is then matching with the market, that is actually something that people are excited to drink. And, it's been my experience that, quality is the only, is the thing that kind of says to you, this is how it has to be, because we want the best quality that we possibly can get. And I think, as we kind of look to closing, it would be great to just sort of start to talk about that perception, really, I guess, and what you're doing there, and the things you've spoken about there, and how they're received in the marketplace. In terms of what is the market telling you that it's appreciating about Cava, and specifically about the different ranges that you're making.
Yes, I think that the people love the bubbles, like me, and that it's nice. And I think that the bubbles, it's growing, and the people like it, bubbles. And now for us, it's important that this new regulation for Cava, that now, for example, the Cava Reserva, before it's a 15-month aging, and now it's changing in 18-month aging. And we adapted this new Cavas Reserva with this more than 18-month aging. And I think that the people want these quality Cavas, And I think that the people love these cavas reserva or gran reserva, very special or the high quality. But I think that the people or the young people love too the young cavas. Finally, I think that the one style of cava, for example, Brut or Brut Reserva or Rosé, for example, the people like this style of cava, very fruity, fresh, easy to drink. And it's I see that we have two styles of consumers. No, the consumer that such this more fresh, easy to drink for make by the glass, a glass of cava in a bar or in a terraza and there are people that, and we have these another consumers that wants a cava more gastronomic cavas, cavas that you want to start a dinner or a lunch with cava and finish with the same cava, and it's a fantastic pairing, a start and finish a meal with cava. It's and if it's a reserva or gran reserva, because it's one of the products that have a more can pairing better with all meals, because finally we have bubbles and bubbles refreshing. And if you start with cava and finish with cava, it's not heavy, this meal. You can, this food, refreshing all the time.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those constant challenges, really, for cava is to keep reinforcing, I guess, that it's made in the same way as champagne, in the traditional method, and that it can actually, as you've very well just said there, that it can actually show up in many different ways. So again, as you say, you might want one style of cava before you eat, just again, as you say, just something to have by the glass on a terrace. But then also there are sort of multi layers of cava that can take you through a meal. That can actually show different things, and I guess all of the things you've spoken about there in terms of the way that the grapes are grown and how they're treated, they can give that acidity that means that actually it goes into the bottle as a high quality, but then also it can be aged over time as well to take it, I guess, to the next level of quality.
I think that you can go here to Vilarnau for drink a glass of cava, and visit our winery. That it's a very amazing place. It's a fantastic landscape, and luckily it's next to Barcelona. The winery to Barcelona, it's only 35 kilometers. Or we have a train station in Sant Sadurní d'Anoia, and it's not far away to Barcelona. And I know that there are a lot of people that during the day visit to Barcelona, and I think that it's an opportunity to visit this Cava region, this area, this Penedès region. And the best thing making this area is visit a winery and make and go to the restaurants for you can eat all the typical Catalan dishes, or paellas, or calçotada in winter. You know that calçotada is a funny and a very typical style of barbecue that we can church with cava. Or a lot of restaurants that make a different tapas or different styles of meal. And I think that cava we can pairing with all these styles of meals. There are a lot, and it's one of the very interesting experience, gastronomic and cava. It's one of the best things for you need to go here.
A huge thanks to today's guest, Eva Plazas Torné of Vilarnau. Do be sure to visit vilarnau.es/en, where you can learn more about the project and find their main social media handles. Please help to amplify this episode and the series by sharing the direct link, which is interpretingwine.com/536. You can also find links to both series episodes in the description below. And of course, I'd love to have you following along with me on social media, where I'm at Interpreting Wine on Instagram and Facebook, and at Wine Podcast on Twitter. That brings the Cava special series to a close for now. All that's left to say is a huge thank you to both series guests, Mireia Puyol Busquets and Eva Plazas Torné. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast to be alerted when the next series goes live. See you soon.